Skippity Doo Dah Day, episode 94, Talkin' Shop podcast. Thank you, listeners, for listening each week. Thank you, Patreons, my patrons. I appreciate you. We love you. Thank you very, very much. As mentioned last week, we are going to start rolling out some cool things just for you. So if you want to jump on that, patreon.com/chop and ball game. If you want to jump on a discount code, go to warstick.com. The code is attaboy15, 15% off anything. Also, for the month of September, Tanner Tees, code attaboy for 10% off. And get you some merch from Coach Ballgame's website. Can you give Mrs. Ballgame some snaps? And wherever you might be, just a real loud "atta girl," get weird, explore the space, and shake it up a little bit. Maybe Mrs. Ballgame will hear you from miles away. Um, Guys, it's great to see you. We're not going to waste any time today. We're going to get right into listener questions. Anything from you guys before we get right into the meat and potato?
Let's do it. Can't wait. Great day to be great.
Wow, love that. And the way we do anything is the way we do everything. So let's get right into question number one. My kid is feeling left out, and I want to make sure I read this correctly. Um, it, my child has had some things happen in their life in the past couple of months, and as an 8-year-old, it has definitely made him just a little bit lost as far as making friends go. As he jumps into his baseball practices, he's having a tough time with making friends. There's cliques that are going on where people are not becoming friends with him, and he feels left out of certain circles on this team. And I want to know how to combat it as a mother who also feels left out when the rest of the team is going and having this fun pool party or something, and we're left out. Um, how can this coach approach this situation? And then how is I, as a mother, approach this? So I'll crank this question up with for any coaches out there. What helped me along these lines is just becoming sensitive to the Smalls, Benny the Jet thingy, right? You're going to have different personalities, different experience levels, different skill levels on your team. And if you can create a culture where Benny the Jet wants to help Smalls out and wants to teach Smalls how to catch. Likewise, if you can build a culture where Squints wants to be kind to the great Hambino, that means you got to prioritize character. So coaches, you got to come from that lens. As a parent, when you're scoping out a travel ball coach or a travel ball team, before you join the team, watch the coach a practice. Then go watch him coach a game and see if that coach is looking through that lens, if that coach is noticing the hustle, the kindness, is praising loudly and constructively criticizing quietly, is moving the kids around to play different positions. If that's your cup of tea, is the coach doing that? I think you got to be picky with who you choose. When somebody asks me, I'm on an 8U travel team and I'm not liking it, what's your advice? I say, snoop around. That there are plenty of teams that are practicing today. You can go to different fields and find a coach that lines up with what you're trying to find. So I think as coaches, we have to make sure that kids are looking through a lens of inclusivity, and we're going to fist bump that kid that's never played before just as hard as we're going to fist bump the best player on the team. Flick Money, let's start with you on this. How can we help this mom out as the kid it seems to be left out?
The missing piece of information we don't know is what is the coaching style on this team. We don't have that information. This is more of a dynamic of what's happening as much off the field, Probably it's leaking on the field too, but it's a lot of off the field. So I would just say, practically speaking, to this mom, which is going to speak volumes to her child, be the change you want to see on this team. So if other people are not being inclusive, other people are not inviting us, why don't you throw a backyard barbecue, invite the whole team, and prep your child? That doesn't mean everyone's going to come. There might be kids or families that might have something else going on. They might choose not to go. That's okay. This is how we do it. This is how we do it in our family. We include people, we invite people, and we don't, we're not going to sit. It's okay that you have feelings. The feeling of rejection or sadness when you're not included, that's real, especially when you're 8 years old. And so I want to honor that. Those feelings are all valid, but we're going to be the change we want to see. We're going to do some stuff to see if we can foster some of that, and maybe show up people and show our team and our parent culture what it could be like, what it would be like if people were more included. Does that mean he's going to get invited to every play date after that? No, it doesn't mean that. But we're going to do it the way that we wish it were done. I think that's a powerful opportunity.
Chaparoo, are you seeing this, whether it be at your high school level, at your travel ball level, as far as being left out?
Yeah, I think the Little League level is where I've seen it. And it's hard for me to speak on from the parent side, just because I'm fortunate. I have 4 boys. Their personalities are such that they don't have this to deal with. So it's a challenge for me, but I like what Flick Money said. I would, if I tried to put myself in the shoes of the parent, I would try to see if I could see some like-minded parents, some that do look like they're inclusive, and just maybe have a side conversation of like, hey, my son's had some challenges, some stuff's happened. Is there any way you guys would be comfortable, and just kind of have that side conversation before, so that they know. Because a lot of times, if you don't, Sean Dunson was my partner with the Giants, and he would always say, a closed mouth don't get fed, right? So you find a way, some folks that you see look like they would be interested in helping your son get those play dates or those opportunities, have a conversation. Hey, he feels a little bit left out. If you're comfortable enough with a coach, have that conversation. Be how I would handle it from a parent side. From a coach's side, oh my gosh, this is why we're here. You've got to look for those pieces of your team and make sure that you get to know them and their teammates get to know them. And most of the time, it's not even going to be about baseball. It's going to be like, hey, so-and-so is really good at X, Y, or Z, or whatever their passion is outside of baseball. Isn't that awesome? And then when you show that interest and engagement, then everyone else is like, oh yeah, that's great. And then you create this culture where, hey man, we're brothers for this, whatever this 3-month season is. We've got each other's back. Let's get to know each other. Let's spend time together. We are a family. And that's how I would handle it from a coaching standpoint.
Good stuff right there. And then we talked last week about assistant coaches and important jobs you have. Be aware of this. If the head coach is all about the X's and O's and the roadmap of the practices and the games, then that's where you come in and you notice, you know what, this kid, he seems down. He seems a little left out. Let's do something here. Let's set up a play date with my boy and this kid. That might be the most important thing you do all season long, because we want to create long-lasting love of the game and long careers for all of these kids, and they all have a different story. They all have different personalities. So I can't tell you how many kids I've run into in these past couple of years where I hear a story, they've lost a loved one, they've lost a parent. And man, it hits me hard how many kids have to go through very difficult things. So coaches become sensitive to it. Another question, is travel ball a necessity? Does the travel ball have to happen for the kid to excel and make it to that next level? Now, I think we've got 6U, 7U, 8U, 9U, we've got that at a very young age. And I know we've got to tread lightly there because you want to create this great athlete who's well-rounded and has the ability to play a lot of different sports under a lot of different coaches. You don't want to get too special too early. But let's go upwards of 9U, 10U. You've got your rec ball option. and you've got this travel ball option. Is it a necessity to make that high school team? And Chopper, we'll start with you on this one. When you're looking at high school players coming in to your program, is that a necessity for you?
No, it's not a necessity. If your kid is showing interest and they're kind of driving it and they've got a passion for the game, and it's something you can afford to do as a family with the time and the energy and the effort, the beans, bullets, and band-aids, so to speak, of getting involved in club. But just make sure, like you said a minute ago, Coach Ballgame, that you interview the coach. Go watch a practice. Are they fundamentals focused? Are they teaching high baseball IQ, where to be on every play? Are they teaching a spirit of resiliency and character? If they're not, club ball is not the play. 90% of club ball teams, in my opinion, are not the play, where it's win at all costs. It's yelling and screaming. There's no fundamentals being taught. It's just a cash grab in this, like, oh, we've got to win, but they don't teach you how to win or have a process or get better or deal with failure, or treat your opponents with respect and the umpire and parents. And so you've got to find the right fit if your kid is driving it. If your kid isn't driving it and they're a good athlete, let them do whatever they want. Like, where's their passion? Little League is perfectly fine. I would say if you are serious about them getting on a high school team, probably that 13U, 14U, most high schools have a good feeder team. Get him in there at that 13-year-old age, but talk to the kid. Hey, Billy, do you want to play high school baseball? Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Okay, well then this is probably the age where we kind of have to take kind of that next step, making sure that you've kind of learned what the coach's currency is. If they've got a feeder team, they're already teaching kind of that culture of what that coach wants at the high school. But I would say, and Flick, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, but I would say no, it is not a necessity until that 13-year-old age. But if they love it and they want to do it and you can find a good coach, yeah, jump in. Just be careful, man. Some clubs are 3 tournaments a weekend and all this nonsense. Make sure they practice 2 or 3 times more than they play, would be my advice.
What do you got, Flick Money?
I love the 13-year-olds. Sort of, that's when it really becomes necessary. We do know club ball isn't necessarily a necessity, especially at the young ages. However, reps are. They do need reps. Baseball's a reps game. There's a reason that the Sunshine Belt produces, more college and professional players, because you get a lot of opportunities to play it. Whereas football is more likely to be evenly distributed because it's not necessarily weather dependent to get better at it. So you can really see how important that is. So they do need reps, but reps can come in a lot of different forms. There's great summer camps out there where you can get a whole season of Little League ball in 1 week of a really well-run camp. Coach Ballgame camp, I can tell you, you're getting some ADs. Every camp I've been involved with, I've prioritized them getting at least 30 game at-bats in that week. So that's, effectively, first, depending on how your rec ball goes, that's a season. So get them as many reps as you can, but I would not do it at the sacrifice of their emotional developmental well-being. I want to make sure that they're in places that support them and foster their growth and their joy, and they're getting to be a lover of baseball and a lover of life, rather than the opposite.
Yep, absolutely. If you find a coach who's got a facility in your town and they are doing it the right way, and you want to jump into a weekly lesson, 30 minutes, 1 hour each week, where they're developing these skills with a good role model, I think that is great. And then maybe they got swim practice the next night, and then it's family night the next night. Keep that balance going. But yes, baseball is a rep sport. But more important than the reps is what kind of role model is this person that you're giving your child a couple hours a week with? Good question there. Okay, next one. Let's go softball. I'm coaching 10U rec softball. How do you balance helping kids fall in love with the game while also wanting to win? Basically, how do you mix this trophy chasing travel ball with that rec ball vibe? And we talked about this last week a little bit. This is a pillar that Flick Money talked about, the both and approach. So Flick Money, what's your advice to this softball coach as he he wants to teach these girls that hard work and coming together and working as a team can lead to wins, while not going down this path of toxicity and win at all costs.
Yeah, it's a both and. We've been talking about this. Uh, if I'm creating practice plans, I'm going to go back after I create it and go, okay, which one is this servicing? Okay, we're doing team defense. That's servicing wins. Let's be honest. Yes, there's also some character development pieces in that. I'm not ever going to exclusively do one or the other. But when I go through my practice plan, if I'm not building in, like Coach Chops taught me, spotlights, where you put a kid on the hot seat and you ask them a question and you let everyone get to know them a little bit. Opportunities for kids to share with each other, to compete with each other in a fun way. If we're not building, those joyful things should be built into a practice plan that also is developing our skills and our fundamentals so that we can go out there and play the game at a high level. I don't think it's an either or. It should be a both end. It can be a both end. And if you need more specifics on that, on how to do that, I would dial in the Coach Ballgame Playbook, because there's a lot for how to build in joy and skill development into your practices and your season-long vision.
He's got a second part of this question, Chopper, and I'll throw it at you. He's trying to bounce kids from one position to a next. You want to get multiple positions with these kids. They're 10 years old. I've got the studs. I've got the less experienced players. He's got the whole gamut. But personally, he's feeling a little bit as a coach. We talked about last week where the parents are talking behind his back. They're not on the same page. They're not in with this culture. So let's go specifically on changing kids up in the batting order and positions wise. Is this detrimental to these kids?
Yeah, my opinion on this is just mine, and I'm not saying it's right. But I want to know where kids want to play, and I try to give that to them at practice. But I, in just my opinion, when you put a kid out on a game where they're not prepared to be there, you put a kid who can't catch a ground ball and can't make a throw at shortstop, just for the sake of everyone gets a chance. I think you're potentially doing some harm because you're not putting them in a position to succeed. So the way I go about it is, if someone says, "Hey, coach, I really want to play short." Okay. So we get them there in practice, and we do a ton of game situations in practice so they can get in those situations. And as they continue to improve, then I give them that opportunity where I truly believe in a game setting where there's pressure on the line, even though it's 10U softball, they can make the play. And so that's how I look at it. As far as the lineup goes, same thing. I want there to be some sort of a reward for playing at a high level. So, and I think if you do that and you're fair and honest about it, I think parents will respect it. If you start just pulling names out of a hat, I think potentially you're going to put yourself in that kind of line of fire with parents, because they're like, why in the world would they bat? Like, it comes back to everything. You've got to be able to explain why you're doing stuff. And so if you can explain a good reason why you would do that, do it. And then if you've got conviction and passion for why you're doing it, awesome. But if we're just doing it because today's society and culture where everyone gets to do everything, I think that's a little bit tougher thing to be able to stand behind. Just my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. But I go meritocracy, and I try to blend that with, if little Johnny or Sally wants to play third base, awesome. Let's get a ton of reps at practice and let's work through it. Okay, here, this is what, and when it happens in practice where it's not clean, like, hey, that's what we're talking about. I want you to try to find that hop. Let's do 10 more reps and let's work through it. And you do it in a loving way, but then they can kind of see. I had it last night where one of my outfielders wants to play infield, multiple plays where the ball's hit and we're just spectating instead of like, no, you have an assignment. Every base has to be covered on every play. That's that play where instead of the split second voyeurism, I need you to sprint to your bag and cover. So that's how I go about it. Not saying it's right, but that's how I attack that.
Yeah, another opportunity for a both and. Yes, I'm rooting for you. You've only played outfield, and I want you to learn how to play infield, right? When you get to high school, if you know how to play both, you got a better chance of making the team. So I want this to happen for you. I'm your biggest fan. On the other side of it, we got a reward system here. We're going to work hard in practice. And if you've earned it, and maybe there's a certain number of good plays that need to be made, that way they know what you're tracking as far as the award system goes. I know with pitching, we would have practice sessions where there's a station of pitching going on where everybody gets to go through that station of pitching. And if they get a certain number of strikes in their allotted time, okay, we've got an award for you, and that is you're going to get an inning in Sunday's game. So I think it's all both and I think it's great. I think that sets them up for success down the road when they're not going to always get what they want. And again, you're prioritizing safety too. You can't throw smalls at first base when you've got kids pumping 90 across the diamond. They're going to walk away from the game. All right. Your priority is that they love the game so much they want to come back. So that's my take. Flick Money.
I just wanted to jump on one thing, which is there's an age progression. At 8, I believe every kid should get an opportunity to play every position and hit everywhere in the lineup and see what that feels like. But kids know who's worked really hard at the game. They know who the really good players are. They respect that. So by 10, maybe I've narrowed it down to sort of three different experiences rather than 9 or 10 different experiences. Now we're down to 3. So every kid's going to play at least 1 inning in the outfield so that their high school experience potentially is better. One inning on it somewhere on the infield. Not all 7 innings or whatever on the infield, but maybe my right fielder is a 6-inning outfielder and a 1 inning at second base. Maybe towards the back end of the game or whatever, where they're not great at throwing or whatever. But so maybe by 10, at the age he's coaching, you've narrowed it down to, we are going to change the experience, but it's not going to be equal. And not everyone's going to get the equal number of innings and the equal number of times in the 3-hole. Now it's what I call equitable, which is I want to give them the experience that they need to stay in love with the game, to want to come back and work hard at it, to feel like their work is being seen. But that doesn't mean equal. It doesn't mean they're all going to play the same amount of positions, the same amount of innings, and we'll have those conversations for them. So I think 10 is a really good kind of transition out of from equal to equitable. And then by the time they're 12 or 13, we're talking, it's going to be specialized. You're going to have 1 or 2 positions that you really, really are good at and are going to play. So
I love it.
Coaches,
I think, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that on the topic of communicating this with the parents, and those of you, those are the parents that are talking bad about the coach or saying, what is this guy doing? What's his approach? Why is he going this way or that way? You can explain the why with, hey, I know your kid is a great shortstop. But when they go try out for that 11U team or that 12U team or that high school team, if they have a general knowledge of how to catch or play the outfield, then they've got a better chance of starting because there's probably a really awesome shortstop that's been playing on that team for a couple of years. So to open up their minds to that, I'm trying to help you. Likewise, for the parents that are, man, how can my kid get into the infield? Well, I'm creating this reward system. I'm creating this thing where we're in practice. If they achieve it, if safety is at the forefront and they achieve that goal, boom, we're going to let them get in there for that inning to feel the feels. Good job.
Yeah, you can be mindful of where you are in the opponent's lineup too. If you want to get someone in there and you're not positive that it's super safe, chances are maybe you put a little bit better pitcher on the bump and you get to the bottom of the lineup for your opponent where there's not a high percentage the ball is going to be hit to Jimmy at third base. They're not going to pull a fastball, and then he gets that experience of being in the infield and getting that feel. But you're also pretty confident that he's not going to get a 100-mile-an-hour ground ball hit at him.
This topic comes up a lot in my comments on social media. Kind of an amateur of everything and a master of nothing. If you're going about it that way, what are your thoughts, Flicky, on that topic? Where he's not becoming a master of shortstop because his coach is asking him to play football or outfield. What do you got for that?
Well, I would just say that as I've talked about before, I played with an unbelievable shortstop in college. drafted out of high school, offered close to $1 million, and this is 1990s money, would have been multiple $1 million today. Had played shortstop his entire life, had specialized in his entire life, did not play another sport and did not play another position. Hated baseball, absolutely hated it. I just think the opportunity to learn the game from multiple angles, to learn how to be it'll make you a better teammate, right? And it'll make you a better, I think, a person, potentially a coach. There's just so many wins, and if they're playing other sports, the overall athleticism. I made a Division I college baseball team from a northern cold climate because I was a high school quarterback and free safety, and I played varsity basketball for 3 years. End of discussion. That's pure and simple why. Because the athleticism, they looked at me and they said, okay, we got something to work with here. And so I think it's really, really important. And do not buy the myth that your child needs to specialize. I've been to the Dominican Republic. They're turning out some pretty good shortstops. Promise you that they're not getting to play shortstop when they're 8, 9, and 10, because the 12-year-old will beat the tar out of them if they try to take shortstop. That is purely a biggest kid gets to play the position they want. It's really, really survival of the fittest. So when they're 6, 7, and 8, they're playing the outfield, they're playing second, they're playing catcher, they're doing the things that the older kids don't want to do. And when it's their opportunity to get in that spot, then you seize the opportunity when that moment comes. Shout out to Eminem.
Chopper, anything on that note?
Yeah. You want to be a master of being a great teammate, having high baseball IQ, being resilient, being fundamentally sound, and freaking polling, being able to hit. If you can hit, they're going to find a spot. So Bo just played on another team this last weekend, and the coach is like, hey man, where can I put him on the field? I said, anywhere, and he'll play it at a high level. So first game, he started in center field, second game, second base, third game, first base, played a game at short, led off for the team, went 6 for 8 on the weekend. Like, whole, be a good teammate, know where to go on every play from every position, and you're going to be in a good spot. And so that's where the mastery needs to come in. Don't worry about where they're playing on the field. Can you catch the baseball? Can you throw the baseball? Do you know where to go on the field? Great. Be a good teammate and swing it. Bang. Mic drop on that.
Yeah, that really is a mic drop, and I love it. This is a weird one, but an important one. There's a dad that's upset their kid didn't make All-Stars. I'm the wife of the All-Star coach, and this dad is so upset, wants to sue. I don't even think that's possible. I don't know if that's within the law, but this is, I'm sure, maybe not to this effect, but there's coaches out there that have had this, where friendships are lost because a child didn't make the All-Star team. As a coach of a lot of competitive teams, chop money. Look at that, chop money. I'll start with you, Chopper. Man, what's your advice to this mom? What's your advice to that dad that's suing? What's your advice to this coach? Maybe we'll start with coach in this wild scenario.
Well, we don't have all the variables, so we don't know if it really was a slight. So if it really was a slight, coach has to be better. It's a meritocracy. You got to be better. You can't take someone else because they're a friend of a friend and leave out someone that earned an opportunity to be on the team. So I'll leave that there with the coach. More importantly, for the parents, this is a tremendous opportunity to teach your son or daughter how to deal with adversity. Hey, sit with them when that roster comes out and you're checking it online and they're not on the list. And they're probably crying. Cry with them, hug them. And then how are we going to deal with it? Yeah, I know it's not fair. Life's not fair. What are we going to do about it? I love you. Your value is not found in whether or not you're on this all-star team. What is this going to propel you to want to do? Do we want to double down on the process? Do we want to go get ice cream? Like, what do you want to do? But I'm here for you. I love you. I believe in you. But this is a great opportunity. I feel suing. No. This is love your kids. 10 years old. Is that the age 10?
Yeah, I believe this might even be as low as 9, 10.
Yeah. So this is that tremendous. I mean, this is a gift, right? This is a gift. I'm not going to say it's better than them making the team. It's not. I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to say is this could be one of those things where kind of a pivot point in this young man or woman's life, daughter's life, that it's like, dude, yeah, that wasn't great, but my relationship with my parents got better and stronger. And from that point forward, if this kid loves the game, like, man, my work changed. And I really did get out there and take an extra 5 minutes a day. And I really wanted it. And next year they had no choice but to put me on the team. So
Yeah.
I think everything that happens to us, if we're looking through that lens of where can I find growth, we don't just knee-jerk reaction. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I would love to sue everybody about everything, but that's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help me, my kids, the person I'm suing. So what can you do about it in a constructive way that's going to produce growth?
Awesome. We're going to let Flick Money respond to this question, but we want to give Chopper the rest of the day. He's going to have some quality time with his boys. So let's give
go. Love you
Chopper an
guys.
attaboy on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Attaboy to
Attaboy.
me.
And make some memories, Coach.
Love you, boys.
Bye-bye. Flick Money, you're the coach of this all-star team, and this happens. Any advice for the coach, for the wife of the coach, as you know, seems like they're being threatened here?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm sorry it's happening, number one. And I stand behind Chopper. Go over your reasons why. And this is why when you're doing kind of tryout things, having in education, we create rubrics, really clear. This is what mastery looks like, very clear delineation of what the skills are and whether those expectations are being met. And you're going to have to, if someone's going to try to launch a civil suit against me, which they can do for anything. This is not a criminal offense, but a civil suit that they've been wronged in some way. You can launch a civil suit. You got the money and the lawyer. You can launch it for anything, and you're going to have to really look at. Okay, let's make sure my reasoning was sound here. In your defense, I will say I just watched the Olympic basketball team, loved every minute of it. Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics is the NBA Finals MVP, one of the 10 best players in the league. Jason Kidd, when he was coaching the Mavericks, said Jaylen Brown's the best player on their team, not Jason Tatum. Okay, defensively, offensively, what he brings to the court. Did not make the Olympic team. They instead passed him over and selected his teammate, Derek White, for the final spot on the Olympic team because they weren't going for let's just put the 12 best players together. They were going for let's create the best 12 collectively. And they needed what Derek White could bring differently than they needed what Jaylen Brown could bring because they already had a couple of elite players at Jaylen Brown's position. So if you're just going to get in a situation where, it wasn't going to make sense for them to have him sitting the bench and not getting the minutes and them not getting what they need, they put together the best 12. So in your defense, I would say, that's one possibility is even if the kid's really skilled, but if it changes the chemistry of your team, if it doesn't, if for whatever reason they're not bought into the vibe, that can take down the level of play, even if they're a very skilled player. And I definitely, as a coach, when I was a young coach, there was a time a kid who went on and played at the University of Michigan college. We asked him not to return for a season, and it created a whole hornet's nest because he was having a very difficult time following expectations and practice plans. Just was very disruptive for a lot of reasons. And so we thought it was a great growth opportunity for him to take a season off, just a fall season. We made a roadmap back for him. Here's how you can get back. And it was not received well by the parents. And it was a tough one, but we felt like it was the right decision. I will say entitlement happens when people especially kids get really frustrated, they make noise. And instead of giving them the opportunity to work through it, we come in and rescue them and give them the thing that they want. That's how entitlement is actually built. And so people learn if I just throw enough of a fit, then I'm going to get what I want over and over and over. And so I just think that has such detrimental developmental consequences that the suing is just the wrong move. This is the wrong move here. Chopper's absolutely right. Let's let the kid work through this and support them and love them. And yeah, it hurts. It hurts not making a team when you feel like you should be on it. Believe me, I have been there.
Absolutely, we all have. We've all been there where we didn't make that team we wanted to and didn't get that phone call, and it's upsetting. I just say have your why figured out, why it happened, and then be that kid who didn't make the team. Be his biggest fan, and open communication with him, with the family, with the why of why it didn't happen, but how here's a few steps you could take to maybe make that team next year or make that great team in the following years. Be his fan, be the family's fan, and just communicate that with them. Like everybody in this town couldn't make the team. These are the 12. Collectively, we thought we had the best chance of moving forward. But I love your son. And whether they become a doctor one day or a baseball player, whatever it might be, I'm rooting for them. And I've got some ideas on how maybe he makes this team next year. Uh, Make it really hard for that guy to sue you because your heart is in the right place. And come from a place of empathy, which is really hard to do when somebody's trying to sue you. But wow, these are real stories. I've got one more for you, Coach. You ready for one last question? Flick money.
Hit me.
I love it. And then for listeners, thank you for bringing these questions in. Please email me, coachballgame@gmail.com with questions for the pod, or DM me on Instagram @coachballgame. Also, please jump into my Coach Ballgame playbook. I bet your question was answered in those 6 hours of Zooms and all of these awesome PDFs that we have. That link is in my link tree in my bio. It's also up on our website. Mrs. Ballgame put it up on coachballgame.com. So that's the Coach Ballgame playbook recordings. Hey, Coach, love the podcast. Really interested in how you transition into the start of any practice or session to start strong. Kids and families can be late, distracted, unenthused. Do you have any icebreakers or cultural habits to create that connection, that trust, and that flow that you value so much? I'll start this one off. I love to have a greeter at the gate as the kid is walking in. And maybe the parent had to work and the kid's going to be late. This is going to happen. But if there's a greeter at the gate with a fist bump and a smile going, "Hey, how you doing? Great to see you. What's your nickname? How was your day?" This is where you put your stuff. You're going to put your bag right there. We got our gloves right there. And Coach Flicky, he's actually got a team meeting going where he's telling a story and doing some trivia questions for baseball cards. I think that's a great way to set the tone for those kids that might be unenthused, having a bad day. As soon as they cross from real world to ball field or basketball court or wherever it might be, boom, it's a place of joy, unconditional love, and presence. So I think that greeter is a huge deal. And then maybe create a first activity that has movement. I have this game called Moneyball, where I have balls on tees, and I've got different teams that are lined up trying to throw a ball and knock that other ball off the tee. And kids are running, they're doing a competition, and it's a little starter activity to get everybody's juices flowing. When the kids arrive 5 minutes late, you've got that greeter there that says, "Hey, it's okay. Understand that you're late, but now that you're here, we're going to hustle, put our bags here, and go meet the team. They're playing a fun activity." That's a great little icebreaker for me. Flick Money, what do you got?
I love that, Coach. I love the engaging the baseball mind with trivia for baseball cards or for Skittles as a fun way to get their brains back on baseball, and it gives some time for the late ones to show up. And the other thing, I love the movement. I love Moneyball as a first activity. Another great first activity I used to do is inviting creative play for kids. So I would put, uh, half a dozen wiffle ball bats somewhere in the outfield with a couple of wiffle balls, and I wouldn't even tell the kids what it was for. I would just say, "Hey, you got some time? We're waiting for our teammates. There's some stuff out there if you want to use it," and just let them. They'll create games. They'll play. They'll learn. Some of them know over the line. Some of them will just try to play like a little mini game. But just let them. They're developing hand-eye coordination. They're developing love of play. They're developing camaraderie. But that's sort of an unstructured play time where they get a chance to do some stuff on their own, and we're waiting for those other kids to come and the greeter can meet them, and off we go. Wiffle ball BP is just money in the bank and a lot of fun for everybody.
I love it. I love the chaos. Make sure it's just organized chaos, right? If it's in the fashion of dump some wiffle balls out there and let kids go, make sure it's not with a real ball and a real bat. Sometimes you'll have kids throwing a real baseball over some kids' heads that are doing something else. Keep it wiffle balls. Keep it softer baseballs where safety is prioritized, and just make that whatever is unorganized chaos, make sure it gets a little more on the organized side. That way you don't have any bloody noses happening. I've seen that a lot where nobody's paying attention to the kid with the hard bat who's right next to the kid who's playing catch, and bat hits the face, or you hit a hard baseball, and we're not respecting that that's a weapon and that could really hurt somebody. So anything with wiffle balls, tennis balls, and no real bats, get the kids moving that way. There was one last little nugget here from a parent whose kid is struggling at the age of 7 with machine pitch. Really good off the tee, but as that ball's coming out of the machine, swinging and missing, and just not having any success. How about my guy using wiffle balls? If I'm able to pitch some wiffle balls to him, is that detrimental? Does that help with development? I'll say this: as early as you can get a kid hitting a moving object, the better. Obviously, the tee work is great, but I seem to think that the tee is even more helpful when a kid is older. When a kid is maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, they've had a lot of experience hitting a moving object. Then you can really dial in your swing. You can dial in the technique of your swing. At a younger age, it's a real hard transition to go from tee to a moving object. So I'm always flipping wiffle balls or tennis balls or foam balls, and maybe they're using a wiffle bat or maybe even a real bat, but set up a station at your practices where they're trying to hit a moving object. I'll even have them play ping pong with a bat and a wiffle ball, where they just try and tap the ball up in the air and see who can ping pong it the most times without it hitting the ground, because that hand-eye coordination and hitting that moving object is difficult. Maybe you use a tennis racket, right? Where they've got a tennis racket and you're pitching a tennis ball and they're able to hit it like that. Then you work your way up. But the sooner you can get them hitting a moving object, the better. And then maybe you have to implement that tee after a lot of swings and misses. But Coach, what are your thoughts on this kid? He's struggling with this machine pitch.
Well, machine hitting is its own type of hitting also. Let's be honest. It doesn't come out of the hand, so there isn't a way for the eyes to naturally gauge what the speed should be. You can't, a little kid's not going to process those wheels and figuring out how fast is that thing coming out. And the way they set up machine pitch for young kids is like it comes out fast at the beginning and then it really dies. It's like this kind of parachute ball. So this is a very unique situation. So first of all, be patient. It's okay. I agree with Coach Ballgame. Any hitting moving objects is going to help their hand-eye. But if you want to try to simulate that as best you can, you have to move your child far away, take them in the backyard, and lob wiffle balls from distance, so that they have to wait and track, because what's coming out of that machine is a ball that starts out appearing pretty fast and then it really slows up and it has a trajectory to it. So let's do your best to. I would take BP with like literally almost ephus pitches, those kind of like loopers, and so that they have to wait on it and track it and really track over time. That's probably the best proximity to the machine you're going to get in a safe and easy way to reproduce. But it is a hard thing to learn the machine, so be patient with it.
I got one more for you. The Pete Rose drill, where you throw a bucket of balls and they have a bat, but they're not swinging. They're just watching the ball, tracking it all the way past them, and they watch it all the way until it hits the backstop. And then do it again. Just have them with their eyes track that ball all the way to the backstop without hitting it. That's going to teach them about timing and about waiting and when should I start my swing. And it's also going to teach them about those eyes. You want those eyes to follow that ball all the way to the bat. And lastly, award the small wins. Look for the small wins. If they touch it, if they hit a foul ball, dude, you've gotten better today. Better than you were yesterday. That deserves an ice cream or some sort of baseball card. Praise loudly, and then yeah, I think you'll be in a better place there, and more importantly, you'll have a great relationship with your son. I think that's more important than the baseball side of it, or the athletic side. Is does your kid enjoy your company and love being around you? So,
And I would just
boom.
from a hitting coach standpoint, I would just also, if the child is one of the things that's causing them struggle is their own movement, that they're trying to get out and meet it, and there's a lot of physical movement, just widen them out and take away the stride. Let's just go no stride, nice wide stance, and so that everything I've accounted for, I've taken as many variables out as I can, so that their head's just kind of staying in one place. You know, they can kind of load their hands and just kind of go at it. Because a lot of the littles, when the ball starts coming at them, they start lunging at it and it gets kind of crazy. So maybe go wide stance, no stride.
There you go. Well, thank you, listeners, for your questions. Keep bringing them our way. I think it's a great way to hit some topics, is to roundtable these questions you have. Go to my YouTube channel. I've got all kinds of playlists there. If you're a bit lost, and let's do this again next week. Coach Flick Money, thank you for being with me for an hour here. Coach Chopper had to leave a little early as he's got some quality time with his sons. But rock and roll, rake, bang, any quote, anything to leave these folks with this week, Coach Flicky.
Coach, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad.
Boom.